Hello, everybody, and welcome here today to another fantastic kerfuffle partnership show where I am absolutely ecstatic to have on PayProp and Automated Accounting. We have Bernie and James. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Good morning. You're very awake, Simon.
Yeah. When it goes out, we don't know whether it'll be the afternoon, so you've just broken the fourth wall there, but don't worry. It's all right. And I did check Bernie because I am the height of politeness. It was okay to call you Bernie, so this is now the Bernie and Whaley show, as we said. So I don't know who those two were in the Muppets, but there's got to be potential for us going forwards there. James, how are you? Nice to see you.
Very good, thanks. Very good. Nice to have you. Nice.
You've got the challenge of all challenges here, as anybody in our old accounts department at Repeat used to say, as they sat there and tried to explain to me accounts multiple times. so you make the magic happen. You could be the first person, James, to make this click in my head, okay?
Well, I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Yeah, exactly.
What I love to do.
You're not a magician. Well, just so we're very clear as well, really exciting tie-up today, and it is all about, isn't it, PayProp and Xero, the accounts package, finance made easy here. So could somebody just give us a bit of background about how this partnership first of all happened? Sort of just the timescale, what it was, when you first started talking.
Oh, well, actually, James started doing some work for one of our clients, didn't you, James? And yeah, and so you may not want to mention their name, but you know, they're quite a large agency, and we have phenomenal data and it's all very accurate in PayProp. It's used as a cash book. And what James did is he has been able to translate some of that for agents to use, haven't you?
Yeah, so I put in financial systems for businesses, and one of the businesses that I was putting in a system for was using PayProp at the time. I describe myself as professionally lazy, trying to find any solution possible to make my life easier and make everybody's life easier. And so I was like, okay, there must be a solution to bring this data in to Xero, which is what the system that I was putting in, and there wasn't at the time. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to make this possible. So I started developing that about a year and a half, 2 years ago, by developing the system. And then in sort of conversation with PayProp, they thought that this may be of interest to some of their other clients going forward. And so then we've been sort of in beta testing now for about a year. And then we're just sort of launched it sort of formally, sort of soft launch end of December. Yeah, now we're live on PayProp for their clients. So yeah, it sort of came about as a need from one of the clients that I was using, and then suddenly it sort of snowballed from there.
Well, I love that innovation in a real world scenario, isn't it? That's absolutely how some of the best partnerships and developments happen. And Bernie, just from your point of view, why integrate with anyone?
Well, the thing is, it's about the data set. The data set that you have in PayProp is phenomenal, but there's so much of it. And you ask anybody in lettings, you know, it's become more and more and more complicated as time has gone on, especially in most recent years, you know, with the legislation, but also all of the client accounting. So we wanted something that actually people could use. And what James does is he translates that into very usable data for agents, you know, and for business owners to be able to translate and make sense of the information, because there's so much there.
Yeah, just what the feeling you're overwhelmed with all that, as you said, that kind of data.
Yeah. Because quite often the business owner isn't necessarily always the person who would be doing the operations. So the operation person may know where to go for everything and take time to actually find it, but actually the business owner wants to really be able to future-proof their business, which they can do so because they can get data, they can make predictions out of it, they can there's anything that you can do with that data, because it's just, yeah, it's fantastic.
Right. And James, from your point of view, why Xero? I mean, obviously I suppose I'm answering myself because it's obviously such a huge player out there, isn't it? But was that the only reason?
So I got into Xero. I like Xero as a bit of software, mainly from its cloud capabilities. So now with the sort of world that we live in now, you know, people aren't necessarily working from home, you know, in the office. So, you know, being on the cloud, you can work from anywhere. It also means that your accountant or bookkeeper can log in from anywhere in the world. And it's just ease of use. And with all the integrations that there are in there, I think there are over 900 different integrations that work with Xero. And so it seems to be the main one that's up and coming. Sage has been used predominantly in the past, but I feel that it's definitely Sage is very much for accountants, whereas Xero is very much for sort of business owners and people doing the day-to-day stuff, whereas Sage is a sort of much far more complicated bit. So if you're a sort of small business and without the full accountancy background, it's definitely the way to go.
And the crucial one, let's just get straight to the nub of it. I mean, what's in it for the agents?
Well, actually, there's so much in it for the agents. I mean, I won't name names of where I've worked, but in one large organisation, they used to have a whole team of data analysts. And actually, all of the data analysts used to spend days and days and days pulling all of the data from a variety of sources and give it to the lettings directors. And the lettings directors would need to do a presentation on it every quarter. And you'd review it every month as well. But and then assess that data. And actually, that's all done for you. So there are no data analysts needed. We have James and his integration with PayProp. and the agent can actually say, because from one agent to another, the property world is very different, from prime central to London to the Midlands to up north to Scotland, and they all have slightly different things that are really important to them. So actually what they need can quite often differ, and what James is fantastic at is actually he can actually tailor it to them, can't you, James?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And sort of over the 30 odd agents that are using it at the moment, each one sort of, it used to be sort of they present me with a new set of data, and whereas PayProp is a software that you would have thought you can't use it multiple ways, it turns out that every agent uses it slightly differently. And we've sort of built up solutions for problems as they come along. Normally, I'm very much a solutions-based person. I like a problem, and therefore I try and find a solution for it that is easy and straightforward. And that's with the data there, it's all there. And it's also about getting the data in a usable format. So a lot of what I do at the beginning, especially, is getting people to break up their data so that I can then present better data back to them.
So is that, James, then a qualitative issue there? You're literally looking at the data accuracy side of things.
It's not necessarily the data accuracy, because the way that PayProp works, it very much reconciles it. But if you can imagine that people using correct categories so that you can actually see where your income is coming from, you could put everything down to one category. But actually, if you want to actually see, say, for example, how much your CP12's revenue is bringing in, I can give you that data back, or, really down to the nitty gritty of information, and, looking at what your average income is per property. Is that going up over time? There's no point increasing the number of properties that you're managing over time if the amount of money that you're getting per property is going down. You're creating twice the amount of, doubling your workload for no extra income. And it's looking at those key metrics that aren't necessarily available, but it's also, with the integration with PayProp, I can guarantee the accuracy because it's reconciled back to a bank account. Without that reconciliation back, you can never really guarantee the accuracy.
That's really interesting. So yeah, I mean, one of the points you spoke about there was a lot of people talk about, it's a contentious issue about how do you ultimately end up pricing your services. And actually, well, without a laser focus about what it's costing you, you're just doing that, aren't you, really? So to be able to have that nuanced attention to detail over the cost, as you said, is you would like to think that as you grew your portfolio, you get an economies of scale. But by using these tools that you're providing there, is you can make sure that you are on track with that and optimizing that to the best degree.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, I get really frustrated with multiple entry of data. Yeah. So you've already entered the data into one system, into PayProp. We might as well retake that without having to re-enter it into another system. With this, it's just using the data that's already there, how you've inputted it already, and I can just represent it back to you in a usable format. Do you know which landlord, how much money X landlord has bought you in last month? Most of the time people don't. you know, which landlord do I need to buy a bottle of wine for this? You know, which landlord do I need to get rid of? You know, like just because you have 20, you know, a landlord with 20 properties with you, if they're on 5% and, you know, there's 10 that are on 10%, actually the one that's on, you know, the one with properties, 5 properties, but they're on a higher management fee, or, you know, for whatever reason, they may actually bring in more money. It's these kind of stats that really, without that info, you know, at your fingertips, it's very difficult to see.
Yeah, you're just lost in the morose of data, aren't you? Otherwise, so that's really interesting. And one of the things I asked you to talk about, one of the facts and stats that you could throw out there, you were saying that the actual accountancy process now taken for this can take 5 to 10 minutes a day with no accounts team needed for your business account. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
When we go into businesses, we do find that, you know, they may have 5 people running their accounts, and I mean, one of the stats that Charlie from Hunters says on one of our marketing pieces of information is actually when she changed to PayProp, it saved her 70% of her time.
I don't think there's an area of the business that can, when you make kind of enhancements like that, performance things, can have such a dramatic effect, is there? Because it literally, because you are able to process so much data so quickly and everything else there. You know, if it's in a property management area, or if it's in prospecting or other areas of efficiency, you might get a 5-10% improvement, and that's still really impressive, by the way, but nothing as dramatic as this in terms of that time saving on human hours and input.
Resource. Yeah, and it's, you know, and actually you tend to find those people who do those accounting processes are very diligent people, and they can actually be used in other areas within the business. So, you know, that's not uncommon. But from a business owner's point of view, they've got the data, it's accurate, they can get it at the touch of a button, they can do it for a very short period of time, a long period of time, they can reflect back, they can project forward. I mean, just, yeah, it's
lovely.
yeah.
And look, one of the only things that I ever hear negative about PayProp is they say, well, obviously it's not the cheapest of products, but when you've got those ROI statistics there, aren't you? It truly falls into that, which some people get lazy about. It's not a cost; it's an investment, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's 100% an investment. And you know, I mean, we do actually do an analysis with the agents when our sales guys go out and they do their pitch. They actually do assess what time is being spent, and we actually break it down to each part of the business that they have to enter into, and it can be as much as 90% time saving, and 90% time saving literally, but they would be on an Excel spreadsheet type thing to do that. And some of the systems, some of the CRMs out there now do a bit of that, and you know, but still even some of the good ones don't reduce it down massively.
No, that's great. And so crucially then, James, how does the PayProp integration work from a...
So probably what is best if I just share my screen quickly. I've just got a little infographic here.
Love infographic.
Yeah, gotta love it. So basically the way that it works is you've got PayProp here.
Yeah.
PayProp settles the payments out to your bank account on a daily basis. So that will come in as a one transaction each day.
Yep.
So that will go into your bank account. And then on Xero, you can, for those of you who don't have Xero, but you can have a bank feed that basically downloads your bank transactions on a daily basis and puts that into the software. So what that means is every statement line effectively on your bank statement will come in as a separate transaction.
Yeah.
And then what my software does is it's pulling out this information out of PayProp. So the agency income and the payouts, putting it through my software, and then I'm creating accounting journals in Xero to balance out the payments that are coming into Xero. So and it comes down to all that you need to do within Xero is click OK to reconcile the data. So it gets down to you know, a 2-second job.
So a complex process made simple at its core.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that income that comes into your bank account is broken down into the relevant areas where you've earned the income. So you may receive one big lump sum into your bank account, but actually I will split that out into the months where that's earned. So on an accrual basis, to bore you with some boring accounting terms, but it's actually really important, because if you're looking at the income when you want to see the income when it's generated, not just when it's received. So an example being, you can have a tenant find fee. So when the tenant move in, and that may be done this month, but then the tenant may not pay you till next month because of housing benefit or whatever. But actually, from an agency, you want to actually see, okay, we've earned this much money. We haven't necessarily received that income yet, but it's coming, and that's been earned by us this month. So whereas you could have a month where you receive a loss of money, and so it makes you look like you've had a very good month, but actually you've just been receiving debt from previous months.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at stats, you want to be able to see, actually, have we done a lot of work this month, or have we just collected a lot of debt this month? And with this integration, it actually breaks it down into the actual month where the work has been done. So based on an accrual basis, rather than just when you receive the money into your bank account.
And what's useful looking at it on that really useful infographic there is it demonstrates that what you're really doing is completing the loop, aren't you? You're filling in the blanks that weren't there previously.
Yeah, exactly. It's, there's a huge, again, as I said at the beginning, there's a huge amount of data in PayProp, and it's just trying to extract it out and show exactly where that income is coming from, and also break down the PayProp fees, so that's completely transparent as well for you. So from a VAT reporting point of view, all of that is done automatically by the system.
Okay. And is there a size and scale limitation on this at all, James? Will this go into any size business, or?
Yeah, so it works really well for sort of businesses upwards of 50 properties. I can do it for less, but that's really the sort of core thing. And then we have got businesses up to over 1,000 properties using it. So yeah, it's all there. And the thing is that because I understand the data set now, just putting in a slightly larger portfolio doesn't really affect it that much.
I'm guessing as well, like what so often works, as we were talking about with the efficiencies in accountancy, the bigger that portfolio gets, actually the bigger the efficiency savings as well.
Yeah, and the bigger the time savings. I mean, one of the big things that some of the agents have said is the huge time saving. So when they first come to PayProp, they go, "Oh my goodness, I never realised I could save so much time."
Yeah.
And they're adding on the integration of automated accounting, and then they're saying exactly the same again. So actually, it's multiplied. It's massive.
And Bernie, one of the things that I love about some businesses, it's quite hard to quantify. Again, the ROI, and one of the things you do quite regularly is you talk about that increase that PayProp clients see over a period of time, and the growth that they tend to see. Now, yes, you can't claim all of that, can you? But it's now statistically, you're beyond a small sample now. There is a very clear causal link between using PayProp and being able to markedly grow your portfolio quite quickly.
Yeah, as a business, we look at the data from PayProp very regularly, and that's where our rent report comes into, and the COVID report, where we look at all of the data. It's been a topic of conversation this year, particularly around the arrears, and given the breathing space and stuff like that's all going on. Yeah, so we have to account for all of that. But yeah, 25% growth is really quite typical for an agent, and we take that data from only agents that have over 100 properties. So because of course it would be slightly distorted if we took it for agents.
No, that's what, if Kerfuffle launched an accounts package, that's how I'd do it, but that's because I'm a rapscallion.
You're rogue.
Yeah. So, and the lovely thing there though as well is, that's growing with compliance, isn't it? So the fantastic point about PayProp is every penny accounted for, isn't it, as well? So that there's a wonderful peace of mind element going on there as well. As you're growing, there's not this kind of, is there a skeletons in the cupboard thing going on in the background?
Yes. Yeah. No, it's absolutely brilliant, and they've got access to the data, and the users absolutely love it. So the people who used to moan about the data, and data has been a big thing ever since I've been in lettings forever and a day. And I remember the emails used to go out when I was first there. Do you know who this payment came from? And there would be a name. and and some of that would be there on these lists for sort of 3 to 6 months, sometimes even a year, because people were trying to ascertain what it was, and all of those problems are just so taken away. We just live in a very different world. I mean, technology has changed it phenomenally.
So obviously, if I'm a client of both, this is the biggest no-brainer in history at all to go for. How do they go about getting onboarded though? And I suppose the second follow-up to that will be, obviously, if they're a member of just one of you, what's the next step to obviously looking at investigating this wonderful integration?
Okay, so if they're with PayProp already, then literally when there's a couple of ways they can contact our service team, who are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. And they can literally just either raise a ticket and send in an email, or they can just pick up the phone and someone will put them in touch with James directly, so that they can start having an initial conversation. Is normally how it starts, isn't it, James?
Yeah, so I like to give people a demo, and also I sort of try and give them a report that they can have access to, just so that they can actually see what their data would look like. And then I can also start to make some suggestions on just ways of using PayProp slightly differently. So a lot of what I find with bits of software is the software out there is incredible. Across all of prop tech, but actually normally what happens is people use just a fraction of what is possible in the software. And always what I'm trying to do is to get people to use the full suite of things that any bit of software will do. And so I've got various other reports that I can give people on, different ways to use PayProp, and I'm in a hugely privileged position now where I get to see sort of up to 50 PayProp accounts, and so I can see best practices across the whole suite, and then I can start to give those ideas and little bit tweaks that people can make to their system to actually gain back better information.
So that's a wonderful edge, isn't it? That consultative edge, almost, because of the benchmarking of seeing that data come together. You're really making some quite useful recommendations to people.
Yeah, and I only deal with letting agents or people with properties, and so I'm not a sort of general. A lot of accountants may have a plumber and a fish maker, or fish maker. That's an odd expression, but you know what I mean. Candlestick maker. That was what I was trying to go for.
Okay.
But by only specializing in letting agents accounting, all of my reports and everything is set up for this one particular category, and suddenly I can then start to give people back, an example being, how much money is my letting side made against my sales side? Most people wouldn't really have a clue, from their reporting, that's, but by using the integration, I can, pull out exactly what is sales side and or what is lettings, and then also what is set on Xero. And then also you can start to split out your payroll. So these members of staff are letting side, this on the sales side, and what is that looking like? And then you can start to really, okay, which bit of my business is actually making money, which bit isn't. It's those kind of really key metrics that, to grow your business, you need to be on top of.
But when I saw this hit my inbox and I thought, okay, look, I'm looking at the key stats there. Those efficiency savings are a reason to get involved by itself. Well, what's clear to me over the course of the conversation here is the insight bit, and how much more you can be doing with that data is actually just as powerful here. And there's a wonderful, if you can solve both of those things, efficiency savings and improved best practice, that's a really nice position to be in. What's been the feedback so far that from people that have signed up to the API?
So, well, I've got a couple that they give to us, but I'm sure James probably gets some more. So, huge time savings, absolutely. It helped clean up simple processes for the business. So actually streamlining them and removed any mistakes that were happening. So where there may be mistakes happening in their journals, they're not happening anymore. So that's all being automated. One agent actually said that it was a no-brainer, as it gives he's in your gang, Simon, as it gives me the visibility of his entire income whilst highlighting valuable areas to grow my business. I had to write that one down because I couldn't remember all that. But yeah,
that's great.
no-brainer bit.
I haven't heard the
It's so
feedback.
quickly, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Okay. So what should people do if they want to know more then? I mean, I think we've got obviously both of your landing pages on the website. There's a contact us button there. So just simply click on that and then you two can start talking to them. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they haven't got PayProp, then they probably need a demonstration to see what PayProp's about, because it is intricate. It is intricate, and yeah, that was really crap. It is really. Thanks for that. It's really intricate. What is wrong? Oh no, it's not good. Oh, come on. It's really intricate. The data is really intricate.
That's it. We get there in the end.
Yeah. You might have to cut that bit, Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I'm having my jitters, no thanks. Like she's developed a stutter towards the end. It's always good. Not. So, but yeah, they'll probably they will need a demonstration to understand how PayProp works. And sometimes they need more than just one demonstration, because actually a business owner needs one type of demonstration, but actually the people who are operating it sometimes have many more intricate questions.
They're going to go into the minutiae, aren't they? And as you said, the wonderful thing about this is you're catering for both of the, I hate the phrase itself, but the key stakeholders, aren't you? If you can get those both happy there and deliver to them what they both need, that's a really delicate balancing act as well.
Yeah.
So talk us, I mean, one thing we haven't touched on, of course, is in terms of the price. Now, I understand that the way to start this off is that James needs to get involved. It's a fairly, there is the API, but then there's a bespoke bit of work, and it's a fairly nominal fee. So there's not just a one size fits all charge, is there? But it's not an onerous charge, is what I'm saying, for that people should feel worried about or anything like that. Yeah.
No. And you mentioned about people saying that it's not cheap, PayProp. Well, it's not cheap, but what that's good is cheap. There's not a lot. But I mean, one of the agents turned around and said, I told you you'd absolutely love it. And he said, yeah, but I just had to get my head around that it's like having another employee. And that was it for him.
Yeah, except that doesn't get sick, doesn't go on holidays, doesn't leave the business.
Absolutely reliable, turns up every day, on call 24/7. I mean, most business owners in today's world would probably quite like.
We might as well get used to it. The Terminators are taking over, and if you want an accountancy Terminator, get PayProp an automated accounts in there on your side, and that's the way forwards. I think you don't need to go any further and explain that, though, do you really, actually, Bernie? Because actually, anybody go to the PayProp landing page on there, there's a fantastic interview with a number of your clients, and I always know when it works for a supplier in this industry when I hear time and time again, I wish we'd done it ages ago. So yes, there might have been a conceptual leak to start off with. Secondly, because it's accounts, there's always that, I just want to stick with CFP or whatever because that's all we've ever done, and it's too much of a head. But you've got to look at the opportunity cost of not making the move, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, it is. Why would you not do that for your business? Why would you not have the best software available for dealing with your money?
Yeah, I think we've still got a fantastic deal on there around setup as well. So look, talk to these guys about it. Obviously, they are the very forefront, obviously, of what we're talking about with best practice in accounts. And I think that, I was just about to say you can't put a price on it, but you can put a price, but it's very reasonable. Okay, guys. Well, look, thank you very much for that today. I think that's really interesting. I mean, it'll be fascinating to hear from a few of your clients, either through reviews or if you want to do a panel show in a few months' time when you've got them on board, just to hear exactly those, them reiterating, because they'll be under the benefits we won't think of as well, won't they? And I love that idea, James, about being able to talk about what the data can show you in terms of managing your business. That's a lovely angle as well.
Yeah, for me, data is everything. Data doesn't lie, and especially if it's been reconciled against what's in your bank account. Between the two, you can't pull the wool over too many people's eyes. With and a lot of the data in the business, yes, there are other metrics around, but a lot of them relate back to pound in your bank account. Yeah, and that's really you can measure other things, but actually, if you can really nail those, key metrics, and be able to present those in a usable format, then yeah, happy day. Also, the other thing that can be done is, you can start to see exactly which member of staff is bringing in what money. So, you can give individual.
Who doesn't want that? I mean, that's just,
Yeah. From a P&L, you can give each member of staff an individual P&L. Last month you bought in X, this was your target, where are you tracking? And I'm doing that for a couple of branches at the moment, where they're, very much you want to align your targets also with your landlord's targets. So I think one of the most important ways of structuring that is around sort of your commission base on your portfolio. So looking at over the last 3 months, how much income did your commission base bring in? And then from that, we want you to increase that rate by, say, 2% over the next, every month for the next 12 months. And if you hit that target, then you can get X. The reason why I think that's a great metric to look at is that it's very much, you can align tenant move-ins, give a bonus for tenant move-ins, but then you're not necessarily, you're incentivizing an agent just to move in any old Tom, Dick or Harry, rather than, somebody that's going to pay their rent on time. So yes, you're encouraging your move-ins to make as short a time as possible, but only decent quality tenants that aren't going to bring in arrears. You're also incentivizing on the arrears base, so keeping that down, because then you're not going to hit your target if on that commission base, and also just generally the number of properties that you're managing. So, but by targeting that, and be able to relay those stats very easily, suddenly all of those things are then also aligned with the goals of the landlords. They want to be paid on time, and increase their monthly revenue. So
rather than being obfuscated and you don't know, and it's difficult to align your behaviours to reinforce that, isn't it? You are wrong on one point though. Data doesn't lie. My Betfair account is a terrible affair, but that's a different form of accounting, not for today anyway. Look, James, genuinely, I could listen to you all day. I think there's a fantastic amount of absolutely perfect logic there in terms of what you're talking about, what you can be doing, and taking it into a really exciting place that we've never been before, with combinations of PayProp or Xero there, making that data informational and actionable. Yeah, absolutely great.
Yeah, well, to run any business, you need to know your numbers really well, and the partnership does that 100%. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time today, and look forward to catching up with you over the months ahead.
All right, yeah, maybe.
Thanks a lot.
All right, okay.
We can do that now. Thank you, guys. Cheers. Bye.
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 Bye.